Hello again. So I thought I'd do a little quick video on percentages. So we're going to be focusing on the very basic percentages, say the ones that make the building blocks of pretty much every other percentage that you can find. Okay. So what are these building blocks? Well, first of all, if you have the number itself, that is 100%. Okay. And if we go this way along this kind of diagram here, we're going to divide by 2 each time. Okay, so if we divide by 2, the first thing we get is 50%. Okay, so if you divide by 2 once, you get 50%. Okay, start with 100%, that is your number. Half it, you get 50%. Half it again, what do you get? Well, half of 50 is 25%. Okay, now if we go this direction, what's going to happen? Well, in this way, we're going to divide by 10. Okay, this is just a diagram. This isn't something that you have to draw out every time. I think it just helps to remember things. So divide by 10 once, 100% divided by 10, you're going to get 10%. Okay, that's one they're going to use probably the most. And then divided by 10 again, you're going to get 1%. Okay, but what about this one? Because remember, this way we go divide by 2. This way we divide by 10. Well, what about if we go to this one and follow that rule? 10% divided by 2, we get 5%. Or we could do divide by 2 and then divide by 10. And again, you would get 5%. Now let's use this in a bit of an example. Let's say that we're going to be using the number, what should we go for? Let's go for 280. Okay, that is our 100%. Okay, now we're going to be finding 50% of that. We're going to be finding 25% of that. Let's find 10% of that. And let's find 1% of that there. And of course, 5% there. So to get 50%, what do? We half it. Okay, so 280, half of that, half of 200 is 100, half of 80 is 40. So it's 140. Half it again to get 25%. So the way to get 25% is half it and half it again. So half of it we've already done, 140. Half of that again. Half of 100 is 50. Half of 40 is 20. Add them together, you get 70. Okay, 10%. Divided by 10 once, you're going to get 28 because you're kind of moving it a whole decimal place across. I moved that the wrong way. Whole decimal place across. Half it to get 5%, you get 14. Or we could go 50% and divide by 10. Works exactly the same way. Now 28 divided by 10 again will give us the 1%. Okay, remember you're moving things across by one decimal place, so you actually get 2.8. Okay. So, if you've got a spare bit of paper, this is your first task. I want you to draw the this kind of shape, but without writing anything in there. And I want you to fill this in, but for the number, what should we go for? Let's go for 500. Let's go for 500. Okay. So do the same thing for 500. Pause the video here. And I will go through that once you've got the answers. Okay, right, so 500 is going to go in our box up here. Okay, 50% of that, half it, we get 250. Half that again, half of 200 is 100. Half of 50 is 25, so 125. 500 divided by 10 is 50. 50 divided by 10 is 5. Okay, now 50, half that, we're going to get 25, or 25 divided by 10. There we go. Okay, so those are our building blocks. All right, we have to use those in order to find other types of percentages. So quick recap of what you've got to do for each percentage. All right, so for 50%, you half it, and then half it again. Oh, no, you don't. What am I on about? You half it. I was skipping ahead in my head. For 25%, you half it and half it again. Okay. For 10%, you divide the number by 10. And for 1%, you divide by 10, divide by 10 again. Okay, and then 5%, I think this is the easier way, divide by 10 and then half it. Okay, now some of you might notice that these you could make simpler. Alright, so some of you, if you're more inclined to do it this way, do it in just one step, you could just think of this as divide by 20, you could think of this as divide by 4, or you could think of this as dividing by 100. Whichever way your brain works is fine, okay? I don't care whichever way you do it. If you just want to do it in steps, make it easier for yourself. Half it again. 1%, divide by 10, divide by 10 again. 5%, divide by 10, divide by 2. Okay? Right, your task now. Can you please have a look at these questions? Pause the video now, give them a go, and then I'll go through the answers. Right, hopefully you've paused it and you've given these questions a go. I'm going to go through the answers now. 50% of 24. Remember, what does 50% mean? 50% means to half it. Okay, so half of 24, we're going to get 12. 25% of 104. So 25% was half it and half it again, or divide by 4. So half it, you get 52. Half it again, you'll get 26. Okay. 10% of 1240, 1240. So that means we divide by 10, if you remember. There we go again. Divide that by 10, we're going to get 124. Remember, we just moved things one decimal place across. 1% of 320. So we divide by 10, divide by 10 again. Okay, divide by 10, you get 32. Divide by 10 again, you get 3.2. Okay, 5%. To get 5%, you divide by 10 and half it. So 42 divided by 10, what is that? That's 4.2. And half that, half of 4.2 is 2.1. Okay, and then 25% of 26. Now this one is slightly more complicated. Half of it, you get 13. Now half of 13 is a little bit more complicated. You can use the buffer stop method if you need to, but some of you might recognise that half of 12 is 6, which is a number less than that. And of course 13 is just 12 plus 1. So half of 1 is 0.5. So it'll be 6.5 for that one. Okay? Right, one more thing I really want to point out just for this is that it's really quite useful to know what 75% of something is. Okay, now 75% is 50% plus 25%. And we know how to find out those, so we should know how to find out what 75% is. Now, that is a half and a quarter. Half and a quarter is 3/4, so it's finding 3/4 of something as well. This comes up a lot, all right? So if you know how to do this early on, it's really, really quite straightforward. So if we're going to find 75% of, what should we go for? Let's go for 96. Find 50%. So half of 96 is 48. 25%. So remember, 25% was half it and half it again. So half of it is 48, half of it again is 24. Then add them together in order to find out what this is. It's 72. Okay, so 75% of something is really useful to know as well. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was a useful lesson to you.